Good evening.
Hey, Julio.
Hi, Karen, you okay?
Yeah.
You look well, a little stuffy.
Oh, yeah. Well, the spring is happening and the leaves are blooming. And so my eyeballs are itching. But yeah, I'm good.
Okay, yeah, I took allergy meds this morning, so that seems to help a little bit.
Yeah.
You better.
You should go to Los Angeles. It's snowing.
No, I'll take
This was
this.
such a pathetic winter.
I know. Can you believe that if we want to experience a nice winter wonderland, we need to travel to the West Coast, Los Angeles?
Every month for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's not jinx it.
Every month I do that.
Really?
I try to go to go get away from warmer weather. It's always cold over there.
Oh,
Yeah, I have an
I
office
like
there.
a little winter. I like the change of seasons. I like a little winter. I've only got a little teeny sidewalk. It's not that hard to shovel, but
well, let's see. They're saying something about a nor'easter on Tuesday.
we'll probably get 3 flakes.
Julio, at 6:30, I'm going to start the webinar.
All right. Good
Sure.
evening, guys.
Hey guys, I'm going to be on camera later, but I'm still in commuting, but I'm here.
Thank you.
And I agree with Karen. I want snow.
Julio, when you're ready, please just ask me to call roll first.
Sure thing. Let's give it another minute or so. And you'll forgive me every now and then, folks, I may turn off my camera. I'm cooking rice. I just want to make sure I'm not actually burning it. So I may turn off my camera in like the next 5 minutes.
That's why you need a rice cooker.
I used to use one, but I like a nice like Big Al, the crispiness. So
Big Al's the best.
Jeremy, let's go ahead and call the roll.
No problem. Good evening, everybody. I see everybody's already muted. So I'm going to call the roll for the executive committee. Board members, when I call your name, please unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. If you are a board member but not a member of the executive committee, I'm not going to call your name, but I am going to write your name down. Let's start with Julio Pena.
Present.
Thank you. Cindy Vanden Bosch. I guess we'll get back to Cindy. Pat
I'm
Ruiz.
present, sorry.
No problem. Pat Ruiz.
Present.
Thank you. Karen Rolnick.
Present.
Thank you. John DeLuper.
Present.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Present.
Thank you. Cesar Zuniga.
Present.
Thank you. Victor Swinton.
Present.
Thank you. Sam
You're
Sierra. Sam Sierra. Julio, roll has been called.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good evening, everyone. And I know we have several of our committee chairs and vice chairs here. Welcome. We have just 2 items on the agenda this evening. And I just want to get right to it. The first item, committee membership and leadership. This is something that we have talked about briefly at the beginning of the board year, and is also something that we talked about. Some members have kind of brought up over the past couple of months, and as we have been experiencing the year and folks have been expressing or have been saying that they are kind of rotating off the board. One thing I'm being mindful of is we have several really active and engaged committees, which is great. We have some committees that aren't and have not been meeting as regularly. Usually my preference is I usually think committees should be meeting somewhat regularly, but I think that should be up to the chair. I do think there are always topics that can be brought before a committee. I do think as we have been bringing on and as we will be bringing on newer members, and we're thinking about cultivating kind of this newer leadership to the board, I am being mindful of the number of committees that we have, and just thinking about how we can make sure that we're not overburdening folks with the kind of level of work that we're doing. And I'll just give an example. And I'm gonna call out someone on this Zoom right now. Antoinette's committee, the housing committee, has been doing really great work. And I'm gonna call it the forum that she did the committee did a couple of I think it was last week. The times are kind of all blurring into one. That was a great forum and roundtable discussion with some elected officials. Some people may know by now. It'll be announced at next week's meeting. John Fontillis has stepped down as chair of the land use committee, and Nick Azadian has stepped down from the board. That would have been a great perhaps forum to host together about housing and land use, but because the committee currently does not have a chair or vice chair, that not happening at the moment. So I'm thinking about and kind of a broader discussion of how can we structure our committees moving forward in a way that we're not burdening folks with more work, but also bringing in other folks so that it is the work is spread out, but also not so broad, if that kind of makes sense. So that's something that I'm thinking about. That's something that I want to work on with the executive committee. That's something that I want to work on with the board as a whole, and just kind of bring that there and see if there are kind of any thoughts about that in general. Antoinette?
Hi, thank you so much, Julio, and I apologize. I've been having bandwidth issues, so sorry if I'm coming through like muttered, but I really appreciate you bringing this up tonight. I think that this is something, conversation that has needed to happen. Something else that I hope will also be addressed is how the executive committee can support committee chairs in ways to engage committee members. I understand that there are issues with the open meetings law, but I know I can speak at least for the housing committee. We have a number of members who really want us to be more proactive in addressing affordability issues and a number of additional housing concerns. But it's a little hard to build ways to engage them and comply with that opens meeting law. So that's one thing I would ask for guidance on from the executive committee. And And yeah, I'm sorry, I lost sight of the other the other issue I wanted to bring up, but I think, oh, and then the second thing is that I myself am a member of other committees. And I think another issue there is just speaking as someone who is a member of another committee, is like, how can I be more engaged and help move things along? I helpful if there can be included, at least like if we have committees, they should be meeting regularly, and there should probably, be having a set number of times are needed. Also, did this was switched by the committees, was sort of meeting agendas of what members of the public and members of the committee would like to within the committee. And I think in my experience serving on committees, it's hard to meet regularly, to know if you have any say on what the agenda is going to be. And a lot of issues do get bottleneck with the chairs, and that's something that I've experienced myself. I think I appreciate you opening it up to have this conversation, but I think there's a lot that are targeting this community. We have 50 folks on this board, and I think that if you signed up to volunteer to be a part of this community board, we all have to put our sleeves up and get to work, because what's happening is that we don't have a clear way to engage everyone, and we really need everyone's support.
Thank you, Antoinette. I appreciate you elevating that. Those are a lot of things that we definitely want to work on, and I hear the support loud and clear, and that's definitely something that we will continue to try to be supportive on. So thank you. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Hi, and thank you. Hello to everybody. I just wanted to say something about what Antoinette just said. A lot of us that come onto the board, we have other boards that we sit on, and we could be executives on those boards. And, in my case, I've been with the Carroll Gardens Association for over 30 years, and I was a chair for 20 years. And, we are in the process of doing a huge development of affordable housing. And I'm not talking about, market rate and, whatever people, I'm talking about that I have served for the past 30 years, low and very low income people in the housing that Carroll Gardens, our properties that we have. So, when I've been on the board, I think I've been on the board probably almost 30 years, if not 30 years or more. And, this is the only organization that I am a member of that I'm required to be like on 5 different committees and things like that. It's a daunting situation for anybody coming in new to the board, and then they, have to understand that it's not just attending a monthly board meeting, it's being on 5 different committees and doing the work of those committees. So I understand it all. My situation as of November, when a family member, and I'll say it, is my husband. My husband is now in a nursing home. He's a paraplegic amputee. And I find myself like it's a lot on my plate. I had a lot on my plate when the pandemic came, and in 3 months, I lost 3 family members. In another month, I lost 3 family members. You know, this has been like a very, very difficult, for me, my life has been like topsy-turvy since the beginning of the pandemic. And I am the chair of the Health and Mental Health Committee, which I now is like, I guess it's the Health, Mental Health and Human Services, or whatever it is that it's called, you know. And I had a lot of people reaching out to that particular committee to, you know, they wanted to make their presentations and stuff like that. And I just was not, because of what's happening with my husband, available. And, you know, it's been kind of hard for me to juggle all of these balls with the Carroll Gardens Association, the community board, the committees that I sit on. You know, I'm like really heartbroken that Nick and John are like not gonna, you know, provide the leadership that they did. And, you know, like I'm starting to question that in my situation as a senior citizen, you know, like how much more am I gonna have to take on? Like I want to, but I was in a position where I didn't even wasn't able to provide the leadership on the committee, on the Health and Mental Health Committee, to say, hey, listen, you know, like I'm in crisis myself. And I, you know, don't want to burden anybody with the responsibilities of the committee. But I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, I'm happy to say that things are not as dire as they were back in November, you know, and I do want to resume, you know, the leadership and give the support to those people that are reaching out to us on my primary committee, which I am the chair of. And I wanna start doing that again, because I feel that, you know, I'm at a place right now that I can. But having been on the board for so many years, and I have seen, you know, people like myself in crisis, you know, family member, wife, you know, spouse, loved one has cancer, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot for, you know, you to say, I'm not going to be there for my family because I got all these things on the board on my plate. You understand? So, you know, we do prioritize. I have so many times, you know, since the beginning of the pandemic, considered resigning from the board, but because I feel that I have so many years of history with the board that is valuable to anybody coming in, anybody new, you know, that I just feel like, and for me also, you know, psychologically, emotionally, the board is a lifeline to me. This is my friends. These are my people. You guys are my family. And I can't risk, you know, not having that at this time in my life. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody, you know, that, you know, leadership, you know, what is the term? You know, heavy is the crown or whatever, you know, it does affect you. And you want to do the very best for your constituency, your people, your family, your loved ones, your colleagues. But at the end of the day, you really have to think about yourself. I'm grateful that, you know, I have been a part of this for as long as I have, and I want to continue. And I want to say I love you all. And I don't want to be in a position where I have to choose at this time. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. And I'm going to try to say this without getting emotional because I've known you for a very long time and your history with my dad at the hospital. I also just want to say uh, the, my, this is not to say that, my intention is not was to call anyone out. I think on the contrary, I think my goal is how can we best lean on each other? And I think you rightfully so, when when you spoke to us a while ago, you reached out, and how can we best lean on the work that we're doing so that we can support each other? And that goes on the work so we can best support our constituents, right? And I think we all share that goal, and we all share the goal of supporting our community. And I hear you loud and clear, right? Like this is we do this work because it's important to us and it's our community. So thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate you. I know many people in this Zoom room appreciate you. So thank you. I know Cindy Vanden Bosch had her hand up, but she said she was traveling, so I'm not sure if she wanted to pop in now.
I'll thank you. In a few minutes, and I see Joan's hand is raised. So please, let's hear from Joan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Joan?
Well, Cindy, you said it all. And you took many of my thoughts out of my head. I have also served. Now I'm beginning my 31st year. And I also have a family member who is quite ill. And I've been his taxi driver back and forth to the clinic. But anyway, putting all of that aside, as all of you may know, or the new guys, I chair the school site selection committee. And no, we have not met in quite a while because we have a few schools in the works, and unfortunately, we have no land. And we could, or in a lot of our estimations, build schools below 3rd Avenue. But now we have the problem of the traffic on 3rd Avenue. And parents, rightfully so, do not want their children to cross 3rd Avenue. So it's difficult. But some of our schools had become not somewhat vacant, but where there was enough of room for the children existing. Now we have another problem. The migrants that are coming in, where do we put them? Well, once our schools that are coming online, Jeremy, refresh my memory. We have 2 that I know of. The one on 4th and 43rd, and then the one on 5th Avenue.
One on 5th Avenue opened in September. The one on 4th and 43rd is supposed to open this coming September.
Okay, so we should, between the 2 schools, what is that? Not about 1,900?
believe it's between that, yes.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm going to start looking again. But at this particular time, my schedule is conflicting. And that's where we are.
Thank you, Joan. Cindy Vandenbosch?
I want to say it to Cynthia, Joan, and everybody who's here that I appreciate you all, and I've learned a lot from all of you through the years. And what I did want to, getting back to something that Antoinette kind of highlighted, and something that I've thought about a lot, and I know I've also discussed this with Karen and John as we were working on the handbook development, is this sense of like when you become chair or vice chair or a committee member, like what does that mean? What does that look like? And how can we most effectively like operate like the committees in a way that where like if you serve on a committee, yeah, like how can you like more effectively engage right when you join? So if you have like someone that's new to the board that's got a lot of energy and they're excited and they've got time, you know, like, so there may be some people, there's an ebb and flow in all of our lives where maybe you're getting married or there's a crisis in your life, or, you know, all different kind of things can happen. And so we do have an ebb and flow. How can we kind of pass the ball? How can we support one another? So I want to kind of like reinforce what you were mentioning, Julio. Say like, maybe
You're breaking up.
meeting that's like somehow like dedicated to like best practices for harnessing kind of ideas and facilitating meetings. Can you guys hear me?
You're breaking up, Cindy. Sorry.
Hear me okay?
It's coming in and out. Sorry.
Anymore. Hi, can you hear? No.
I think the gist of it, of what I heard, is kind of like a best practices.
Yeah, like more support for like facilitation. Like when you become a chair or vice chair, how do you harness the energy of the people on your team? And like I've seen it in many of you. I've seen it in meetings, but I learned by like watching, and I think people can learn that way. But I also, when I became chair, like Melissa Del Valle Ortiz, like became, you know, like she was someone when I first joined who kind of took me under her wing. And like I learned, like she was like a sounding board for me. And so how can we also like create mentorship opportunities to like cultivate that pipeline? So I think those are the things that I'm thinking about, like, or if there's a crisis, how can we like communicate that to our committee and have someone step in and provide that support? So those are just a few things like we could think about to help support chairs and help support vice chairs and all the people on the committees to like all be as informed and up to speed as possible. Even if you're brand new, we've got this like sort of meeting that we did on best practices for facilitating meetings.
Thank you, Cindy. I think those are really good ideas. And I think to your point, those are things we probably have talked about or have picked up on from other board members, but I don't think have really memorialized them or have like documented them in a way that is like really pinpointed. So I think we should definitely do that in a way that's more clear, so that we can best support not just chairs and vice chairs, but committee members so that they can be more, can feel more supported and more supportive in the committee meetings. Was there anyone else that wanted to comment? Karen, I just saw that you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, everyone here has most of us have jobs, most of us have families, this has been a tougher time for some of us than others, so it is very hard. It's hard, I've had to miss a couple of meetings that I really wanted to go to just because of conflicts. Ordinarily, I'm not even available on Thursday nights ever. I just was able to make this meeting. And I think that, it's an ongoing, and I belong on other committees also, and every committee I belong to has this problem. So we are not alone. But, Cindy Vanden Bosch, did you go to that seminar at the borough office about, they sent us an invitation to a seminar and I wasn't even sure what it was about. It was kind of cryptic, but I think we have to look to the borough president's office for help with, it's one thing to be a committee member, but if you're going to be a chair or you're going to be a vice chair, it would be useful to have seminars on how to have a successful committee and how to do that kind of thing. And not just, a problem that I think would make it is if we could do a seminar or have some sort of classes or lessons and tune in when we can, like it could be recorded, because I think everyone here has a very tough time with making very specific times. Like Antoinette, I missed a meeting of yours. I was moving my daughter. There was nothing I can do about it, but I tuned in later to the YouTube recording of it, but if we could do something like that you could be interactive, you could respond, you could write notes, and maybe that would help just with feedback and being able to keep updated. Got nothing else to say about that, really.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to go to John DeLuper and then Antoinette.
Thank you. I just had a question regarding how our requirements stack up to other boards, given Karen's question about the guidance from the borough president's office. Like, I know it's my understanding we're required to each be on 2 committees. There's some people on more, but that if you have a particularly active committee or circumstances generate it, you can end up having a lot of meetings, or you can end up having not that many. So I really feel that it is tricky for a lot of people, I think, to balance that, because you are dealing with that. And then also following up on the point about the borough president's office, their meetings were a little tricky too, because they send notices when we already have things scheduled. So, and then they'll be like, oh, it's a mandatory meeting. So that is difficult to navigate. I don't know how we can get feedback back to them, but that is something that they need to consider for our needs as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm going to answer your second question first. And I gave that feedback to the borough president's office. And I think the board did as well, because they scheduled something the same day as our monthly meeting and said it was mandatory. And I said, well, our board can attend. Can the recording be provided? And I suggested if this could be scheduled with more time in advance so that we can either attend or provide, get something so that we can give more notice. But we'll definitely go back to the BP's office with that. And then to your first question, and I actually just found this out recently, and if I'm wrong, Jeremy, please correct me, but CB6, from what I know, the first term that you're appointed, you actually do not get assigned to a committee. It is not until your second, if you get reappointed or in your second year, is when you get put on to a committee. If someone else knows something different, but I heard this directly from a CB6 board member, which I find very interesting. I don't know how that works, but that's how CB6 operates. Yeah, quite. Antoinette?
So two things. So currently there's a vacancy for the chair of the land use committee. Are there any plans to fill that vacancy? And then also, is there any funding that CB7 receives for a city to have someone with a background in planning? I'm not sure if that's something like within the budget that is provided from the Brooklyn Borough President's office, but but I think that would be helpful. I remember in the first executive committee meeting that we had earlier this year, there was conversations about, comprehensive planning and us coming together and really talking about, our vision for the community. And it would be helpful to, like to plan and organize things like that. To really think about how we can engage not only board members, but also folks who serve on our committees who aren't board members, and to have clarity again on that open meetings law so that we know how we can engage them. Like I have folks saying, can we have like a listserv? Is something like that appropriate so that we can, have a way to communicate with folks directly who serve on our committee? It's not, I don't know, it's really confusing to me to know exactly how to effectively engage other committee members because of this open meetings law. Like I don't even have a way to communicate with other board members directly because everything gets channeled through the CB7 office. So I really hope to get clarity, out of this meeting for how to navigate through that, because the housing committee has been hit with a number of various issues, and there's folks who want to organize around things like community land trust, and it's just various things, and we can do it. Like we have folks who are who really want to get the ball rolling, and we can divide and conquer these things. But I just don't know how to organize them with this open meetings law. You know what I'm saying? So I really hope to get clarity out of that. Thank you.
So those are a lot of questions. I don't know if I can answer all of them. I do think, one, complying with the open meetings law is important. So from my knowledge, it is something that I need to circle back on. In terms of communication, any board member can request the contact information for other board members. That is, again, sensitive information, however, so like I'm not saying that that is like free to share, but it's information that we can request from the board. Any chair can also request contact information from the board for members of their committee and contact their committee. So that can answer, I hope that answered your question.
So how can I effectively engage folks who are, would something like a distribution list, would that be okay to have with folks who are board members and folks who are on the committee but don't serve on the board?
Any committee member is a committee member, so whether they're a public member or they're a board member, they're a committee member.
Mm-hmm.
The distribution list that I know you asked me this question before, and I have not gotten clarity on that, and that's my apology. I need to circle back around that. But I do emailing and contacting is that you can email the committee. I do need to get clarity about an email distribution list.
Okay.
To circle back about that. I'm gonna go to Jerry and then Karen.
It just followed up on the question regarding the email list and the email distro list, right? Instead of email, right, list, right? Do we have some type of chat group that we could use, WeChat, not WeChat, I mean WhatsApp or something like that, communicate with the board members and stuff? Because right now communication is key, right? And a lot of time, you know, I get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day, right? And sometimes I could miss some stuff. But if there's a email group, not sorry, a chat group, right? Some type of device, software that we use to chat among all the board member about upcoming issues, what's going on. Can we do something like that? Let's use technology. I mean, compared to, I don't know how we compare to other boards, right? I don't know how far we have with technologies, how often we use technologies.
So, I mean, I will say what I've said before. Board members are free to communicate with anyone they choose in whatever method. But when it comes to official communication from the board needs to be needs to be sent from the board.
I understand that, but here's the problem. I don't know Karen's email or address. I don't know Victor's email or phone numbers. I don't know John's emails or phone number. That's the problem.
That you can request from the board.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm gonna go to Karen, but I also just wanted to, before that, just, never mind. Just let's go to Karen. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, so while I was putting together the booklet, the welcome booklet, I came across several publications from previous borough presidents, and I found this about the open meeting law. All committee meetings are open to the public. The open meetings law does not prohibit members of a public body from conferring individually by telephone, mail, email, or text. However, a series of communications between individual board members which results in a collective decision would be a violation of the open meeting laws. So I don't know, for what it's worth, that's what the information I found about it. And I also think that the idea of a chat room is really useful because people can go when they have a minute, they can check in, they can make a comment, but I don't know how to, I need some young person set it up. And there is a distribution list, but Jeremy has given me a distribution list, I think, in the past.
Thank you, Karen. I did see a hand up, but it went down. I appreciate that context, Karen, about the open meetings law. And I have shared that in the past, because I just want to make sure that people are in compliance, and it's actually a good segue into our second agenda item. As we go into it, because we are going to be discussing sensitive personnel matters, I would like to entertain a motion to move into executive session to discuss personnel and financial matters of board staff.
Motion from Pat.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Cynthia Gonzalez. Is there any, actually, I like to do this by a vote of the executive committee. Sorry, Jeremy. Just want to make sure I'm doing this by the book. Actually, let's do this by a show of hands by the executive committee. All in favor of going into executive session? Any opposed? Any objections? Okay. At this time, I will ask any members of the board who are not on the executive committee and who is not a committee chair to kindly excuse yourselves. As committee chairs are ex officio members of the executive committee, so they may stay. But I will just ask everyone else to leave the Zoom.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night. And I'm going to pause our Jeremy, how do we pause our live stream?